My stepson, Sean, is 18 and he's in university. He lives with his dad and me so he can attend school in our city. His mom lives on an acreage about 40 kilometers north of town, so that would be quite the commute. I didn't really want him in my house, but my husband insisted and promised me that Sean would behave. He would clean up after himself and not cause me any problems. He isn't a bad kid. He does his chores and keeps to himself mostly. He's had some trouble staying up late and being disruptive when he got here last summer, but we got that sorted out. My husband and I have a toddler daughter. Sean is friendly with her and has babysat her a few times. The problem is he smokes so much. I'm surprised he isn't failing out of school. I personally don't care, except that we agreed he would smoke outside or in the garage, and he's been smoking up in his room. 3 problems. My daughter doesn't need to smell it. It stinks. He has the window open, so we're paying to heat up the house constantly. I spoke with my husband and told him that Sean wasn't following the rules we had agreed to. Therefore, he had one more chance, and then he had to find somewhere else to live. Sean said he was sorry, and he promised he would behave. He even showed me that he bought edibles so he wouldn't affect his sister or stink up the house or need to open his window. It was fine for 2 weeks, and then he did it again. So I kicked him out. I packed up his crap and took it to his mom's place, and I had the lock codes changed. When he got home from school, he lost it. He said I was a controlling witch and didn't have any right to tell him what to do in his father's house. I laughed in his face. I told him that the only house his father ever bought was the one his mother lived in. His dad is my husband, but they both live in my house. I guess he didn't know that and he started apologizing. I called him an Uber to take to his mother's. He didn't go, and he called my husband instead. My husband made arrangements with his brother for Sean to move there. His mom drove all of his belongings back into town, and now he isn't my problem. Unfortunately for Sean, his uncle's completely against this hobby, so he can't have any there, and he's currently sleeping on a hide-a-bed. His dad, uncle, and himself will build him a room in the unfinished basement this weekend. My husband has been on my side since Sean broke our agreement. His mother's salty about having to come into town, and Sean is begging me to let him come back. Edit, we live in Canada. Not the idiot, because you repeatedly told him the rules, and he continued to disrespect them. Yes, that stuff is legal, but it doesn't mean you can do it anywhere in other people's homes, or that it's appropriate around young children. You also gave him reasonable alternatives, so I'm not sure why he just couldn't go to the garage. Also, the attitude switch when he realized it was indeed your house. But you do come across a bit smug about this, and not like a loving stepmother. You're not wrong about this specific situation, but generally, you don't sound like you're doing all this with his best interest at heart. You don't sound like you're doing all this with his best interest at heart? Excuse me? Exactly how should she sound when the grown adult living in her house breaks a reasonable request? Don't smoke inside the house. How should she have reacted after repeated conversations with said grown adult? That's the part that blows my mind. She didn't kick him out for smoking. She kicked him out for disrespecting her rules. She never said he couldn't smoke, just not in the house. In fact, OP sounds very reasonable and understanding, but one can only tolerate so much disrespect before they've had enough. Music is legal and can still get you kicked out if you listen at a high volume. Bikinis are legal, but if you go to work wearing one, you might get asked to go home and change. The fact that something is legal doesn't mean there's no proper time and place to use it. Disagree. This isn't about him or the smoking. This is about you. You flat out don't like him, and I'm assuming because he dared to be born to another woman. You found a reason to kick him to the curb. The whole my is disconcerting here. You literally just admitted they're just people living there at your grace. I laughed in his face. To a kid who just lost his home? That's why you're the idiot here. The sheer joy you're getting over this massive power trip. Having the stepson move out is one thing. He broke the rules, but the sheer enjoyment you get just shows an extreme lack of character. I wanted to take my kids to see my family, but as that required international travel, I needed my ex to give me permission. He finally agreed on the condition that for every day I was out of the country with our kids, I owed him 3 days to do whatever he wanted with them, even if that meant I had to be there too. I owe him 15 days, and he wants to take them to Portugal. He expects me to go with them, but I really don't want to. I've been trying to renegotiate with him, but he said that I can't change the terms after he's already given me what I wanted, and that I should have expected this. So I assumed he'd want the kids to spend overnights with him for the days, but I didn't think he'd want to take them abroad. I told him I wasn't going yesterday, so things have blown up between us. From his perspective, it's unfair that I can go abroad with our kids and he can't. Our youngest is a young toddler, and we both agree he shouldn't be separated from me for 15 days, which is why he can't take them yet. I did mention that he could take them once our youngest is older, but he wouldn't accept that as a compromise. He outright said I had no choice, and is using the fact that our oldest is excited to go and guilt me into backing down. His compromise is offering to invite his brother and his girlfriend if I'm too scared to be alone with him, which isn't much of a compromise. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You need to consult your attorney. His requiring 3 days for every 1 day you have the kids is BS. And there's no way I'd travel to a foreign country for 2 weeks with my ex. I'd never expect anyone to do this. Please consult with your attorney and have adjustments made to your parenting plan that outlines international travel guidelines and whatever else you didn't think of when you first wrote it up. You should be able to do this through mediation. Lawyer was my first thought too. The fact that he wants to take the baby abroad is also absolutely beyond me. The older kids will enjoy the trip, but the younger one won't even remember except via pictures. OP, your ex is clearly a manipulator and a garbage person. He's being an idiot on purpose to get back at you. It's absolutely unreasonable to demand you travel internationally for weeks on his whim. I suppose you could be faulted for agreeing to do this to begin with. You should have never have agreed to the unreasonable 3-for-1 deal or to the whatever he wanted part. Still, he's so out of line you shouldn't feel guilty. You might bend a little, let him have the undeserved extra time you agreed to, but do not fold for that piece of crap. My 32 male, fiance 28 female, is currently pregnant and has been both tired and nauseous lately. I understand why she didn't want to help me look for the dog, but I can't get over the lack of empathy and selfishness of this either. My dog, a 6-year-old heeler corgi mix, runs off at least once a week. Usually my fiance will help me find her, but it's not without protest. I didn't know how she was getting out of our fenced yard, so I installed cameras and found out that she was scaling the 8-foot fence. I ended up attaching spinners to the top of the fence, thinking that would solve the issue, but it didn't. I brought her out today and was playing with her when my phone rang. I was inside just long enough to grab my phone, but my dog had gotten out. I immediately went in search of her, thinking she couldn't have gotten far, but I couldn't find her anywhere. So I went back to the house and asked my fiance, who was curled up on the sofa, to come help me. She immediately said no. She said she was tired of chasing this dog, that she wasn't dealing with it anymore, and that I should have been out there watching her. I explained to her that I had been watching her and simply stepped away for 0.2 seconds to grab my phone just inside the sliding door, and she had escaped. She again said it wasn't her problem, and she's not exhausting herself anymore to search for my dog. I won't even say it was unexpected, because as I said in the past, she's always had a problem with helping me search, but she's never said no. She just complained about it. At first I went and searched for myself. After maybe a half an hour, I came back and asked her again to come and help me, and she snapped. I said no. I'm so tired of chasing that dog around multiple times a week when I'm already exhausted and throwing up constantly. I panicked and unleashed some yelling, which involved telling her she was a witch who lacked empathy and that I was thoroughly disappointed with my decision to be with someone so heartless. It was out of pure fear and panic, and I apologized later after I found my dog, but she said, "Go screw yourself," and won't talk to me. Am I the idiot? Everyone's on my side except my sister, who says I am an idiot because it's not my pregnant fiance's responsibility to, quote, chase around your stupid mutt. And she said she would have left immediately if her boyfriend ever said what I did to her. Dog runs off at least once a week. At that point, you are the idiot for not training him better. Rehome him. He deserves a better owner. She's right. That's not an emergency. That's a habit. Why haven't you put a harness on the dog and put a leash on it? They make leashes that spin around so the dog can go in multiple directions. This way you can turn and not worry about your dog taking off. And yeah, training. What the heck, dude? Add to that, aren't healers working dogs who need lots of exercise? If all you do with a working dog is watch it while it wanders your backyard, you're not properly taking care of your dog. The repeated escapes show you that your dog needs more exertion opportunities from you. Yeah, OP, you need to train your dog better to not run off instead of expecting your pregnant fiancé to bear the responsibility of your mistakes. But this, I told her she was a witch who lacked empathy, and I was disappointed with my decision to be with someone so heartless. I'd leave you over this, 100%. This abusive behavior is not excused by the fact that you were panicking. You clearly have no idea how to keep your dog from running away, but that's not your fiancé's problem. And if I were her, I'd be utterly sick of you too. You are the one who lacks empathy. She feels sick, and you scold her for not helping find a dog you lost. Then you start verbally assaulting her when she doesn't follow your command. Check yourself. I agree with the other commenters too. Unfortunately, you're also an irresponsible dog owner. Do better in that department, or else the dog could one day get seriously hurt. If you can't do better, find someone who can and give her up. This past weekend, I went to a dinner with my husband's family for my father-in-law's birthday. We brought our 2 kids, a preschooler and a sibling a couple of years older. My husband's sister ordered a martini when we got to dinner. I reminded her that our kids were here, and I would appreciate it if she didn't drink in front of them. My husband and I think it's inappropriate. My husband and I enjoy a drink every now and again, too, but we don't drink when our children are present, only when we have a night out without them. Father-in-law and mother-in-law respected our wishes and didn't order any drinks, even though they usually ordered a few bottles of wine. His sister is notorious for getting tipsy at family dinners, and we don't want our children to see that. I pointed out to her that she was the only one at the table who ordered a drink, and that it was a little embarrassing that she was the only one who was drinking. My mother-in-law told me to drop it, so I did, and my sister-in-law ended up ordering 2 more martinis, and of course was tipsy. The rest of the dinner was awkward because of sister-in-law's drinking. Everyone left as soon as the meal was over with no dessert or coffee, when usually we would stay and mingle over a coffee or go back to one of our homes. Sister-in-law's husband has to drive them home because she was tipsy. My husband has been quiet, and finally this morning, as he was getting ready for work, he told me he wished I wouldn't have said anything, and I was the one who ruined things. I told him it was his sister's drinking that made everyone uncomfortable. I know she's young and has no kids, but I don't feel a family dinner with kids in attendance is the place to drink and get tipsy. I don't think not drinking in front of children is too much to ask. She can do that at home or when she's with her friends. I'm just trying to be a good mom and look out for my kids. She doesn't have kids of her own. She had her husband there as a designated driver, as responsible drinkers do. She got tipsy, not wasted. She doesn't have to abstain because your kids are present. It was her father's birthday celebration, not your personal celebration. Your mother-in-law asked you to stop. Your own husband says you are wrong. You are the idiot. Not to mention, I am 100% sure the awkwardness and leaving early was because of OP and not sister-in-law's moderate drinking. If we all had a videotape of the dinner, things would look very different than what was described above, and the source of the awkwardness would be revealed. I wouldn't enjoy being married to you. I bet the parents were eager to go back home to crack open a bottle of wine and complain about their daughter-in-law. It's a party. Stop policing the behavior of others. If you don't want people drinking around your kids, don't bring your kids to restaurants. You're the one that made it awkward. Your sister-in-law did nothing wrong. Does anyone believe you did this to be a good mom and look out for your kids? You need to accept this and also apologize for your controlling behavior. I, 27 female, have been at my current company for about 2 years. I like to cook and bake, and my roommate is obsessively a healthy eater, so I usually have a lot of leftovers, and I always bring them to the office. About a year ago, Denzel, 29 male, was hired. He and I hit it off right away, and within a few months, people were joking that he and I were work husband and wife, which I thought was super funny and cute. Denzel is already married, and we have a great chemistry, but nothing has ever happened between us. I wish, LOL. At first, Denzel seemed to like my baked goods, but then I noticed he had stopped eating the snacks I brought. I asked him why, and he said he and his wife were trying a keto diet. I decided to make some keto snacks so that Denzel could still partake, so I made a batch of keto muffins the next week. Denzel didn't try those either, and when I asked, he said he was trying to lose some weight. I said he didn't look like he needed to, but that I'd try to make some healthy snacks next time so that he could partake in my food without compromising his diet. He told me I didn't need to make anything special on his account, but I did find a recipe for low-calorie keto scones, and I made them and brought those in a few days later. I also forwarded him the information regarding fitness and calorie counting apps that he could use as a resource. Another coworker, Megan, who's friends with Denzel and his wife outside of work, took me aside and said that I needed to stop pushing food on Denzel, that I was making him uncomfortable, and that it made it look like I was interested in him. She threatened to report me to HR if I didn't stop. I was shocked, and I tried to tell Megan that I was just being nice and trying to accommodate everyone when bringing treats to the office. However, Denzel never said anything about being uncomfortable, and reporting me to HR seemed like a massive overreaction on her part. I'm so confused now. Am I the idiot for offering food to coworkers and trying to accommodate Denzel's diet? You are the idiot. Learn to read a room. Denzel is married. Denzel has another woman trying to feed him who does not take no for an answer. He told you not to make him anything special, and you kept at this. When he quit eating your food, you should have taken a hint. I think he called it exactly right. You're parading yourself as potential wife material, and you're a very thin line from being pulled into HR to talk about appropriate work behavior. You weren't bringing leftovers anymore. You were baking for a specific employee and pushing it at him. Alarms are ringing, and you owe Megan a huge thank you for cluing you in before you lost a job. Look for available males that you do not work with, rather than hoping the married coworker decides to cheat. Also, what the heck is this? Denzel is already married, and we have great chemistry, but nothing has ever happened between us. I wish, LOL. This is grossly inappropriate. That's a married man, and you know it. Woman, take a hint and stop trying to shack up with a married man who isn't interested. Poor Denzel. He tried to say no politely a whole bunch of times. He knew OP would never hear no without throwing a fit. Mad props to Megan, though, for taking one for the team and putting OP in her place. I just hope after hearing from everyone here how out of bands that is, OP will stop. Or not, but HR is there for that.